Islamists levy Jizya tax on Christians and Jews in Mozambique. By Thomas D. Williams, Ph.D. on December 2, 2022. The Islamic State in Mozambique, ISM, has ordered Christians and Jews to pay a Jizya tax for infidels as a sign of their submission to an Islamic Caliphate, the Barnabas Fund reported Thursday. Christians and Jews in the region have been threatened with death unless they either convert to Islam, vacate the area, or pay the tax. "We will escalate the war against you until you submit to Islam," states a handwritten message from ISM. "Our desire is to kill you or be killed, for we are martyrs before God, so submit or run from us." The letter, which menaces Christians and Jews with endless war if they do not submit to Islam or pay the tax, also threatens moderate Muslims with death if they do not join the Islamist cause. The ISM publishes a weekly newsletter, which has also demanded that Jews and Christians either convert to Islam or pay the infidel tax. In demanding the jizya, which according to Sharia law allows Jews and Christians to remain in the land as second-class dhimmi, the ISM is echoing the tactics applied by the Islamic State in Iraq, Syria, and elsewhere. In 2014, the Islamic State issued a statement demanding that Christians in Mosul either convert to Islam, pay the jizya, leave the city, or be killed. This led every in the region to leave, ending 2,000 years of Assyrian Christian presence. In 2015, the Islamic State launched a series of attacks on Christian towns along the Khabur River in northeast Syria, during which the jihadists abducted hundreds of Christian hostages, who were similarly told they must convert to Islam, pay the jizya, or face death. The imposition of the jizya has repeatedly been employed as a means of emptying regions of Christians. In northern Mozambique, some 21 Christians were killed by Islamist extremists in violent attacks in the month of October alone. The jihadists have also regularly raped Christian women during their raids and kidnapped Christian boys to serve as child soldiers, Barnabas reported. The assaults on Christian villages have also been accompanied by the burning of houses and churches and the execution of numerous Christian pastors. Follow at Williams Rome.
ISIS was defeated, but its ideas and followers didn't disappear. One place where the Islamic State brand has re-emerged is northern Mozambique, in a province called Cabo Delgado. Here, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria has transformed into the Islamic State's Central Africa province. On the 5th of August 2020, the group attacked the town of Mocimboa de Praia and after 6 days of fighting, seized control of it.
Well, the Islamic State fighters claiming ISIS affiliation have seized a strategic port in Mozambique.
The port town of Mocimboa de Praia has seemingly been taken over by insurgents aligned with terror group Islamic State.
Mozambique, the clashes have left 1,500 people dead and more than 300,000 displaced.
Islamic State declared the town as its capital, copying a strategy the group had used in Syria to raise its profile around the world. So how have Islamic State militants ended up in Mozambique, and why are they attacking Cabo Delgado? The Islamic State brand is at the forefront of the attacks in Cabo Delgado, but the Islamic State didn't actually start the insurgency. Instead, the roots of the insurgency in Mozambique began in Kenya, in the city of Mombasa, where a man called Aboud Rogo Muhammad was assassinated. Rogo Muhammad was a radical Muslim cleric who promoted extremism from Kenya. He recruited individuals from across East Africa and helped them avoid the authorities as they travelled to Somalia for training as Islamic militants. He was under UN sanctions for his links to terrorist groups and repeatedly called on his followers to use violence and fight the Kenyan government. In 2012, he was shot dead on the outskirts of Mombasa. His supporters suspected the Kenyan police were responsible, and many of them fled the country, heading south over the border. The group resurfaced in the Kibiti area of Tanzania, where they became involved in organised crime. In 2015, some of Rogo's followers moved even further south, and arrived into Cabo Delgado. Here, they linked up with a local religious group that was preaching the same hardline version of Islam that Rogo Mohammed had promoted. The two groups started recruiting and training local men as fighters, and then emerged as a militant group called Ansar al-Sunnah. On the 5th of October 2017, Ansar al-Sunnah attacked police stations in the same town that Islamic State would declare as its capital less than 2 years later, Mozambique da Praia.
Da República de Moçambique aqui em cima da praia e vão oferecendo alguma resistência, lutando aqui com a polícia.
Ansar al-Sunnah had started an insurgency, and the attacks on the police stations had allowed the group to capture police weapons to arm its growing number of recruits. More attacks followed and spread to other towns and villages across Cabo Delgado. In 2018, the group launched an average of 5 attacks a month against security forces and local people who supported the government. By 2019, this had risen to an average of 15 attacks a month, and in 2020, the militants were averaging an attack a day in Cabo Delgado. However, during 2019, something else had changed. Ansar al-Sunnah had sworn allegiance to the Islamic State. The full reasons for this remain opaque, but there had been reports of ISIS militants arriving into Mozambique since 2018, and the group was known to be seeking out new fronts as it was pushed back in Syria and Iraq. Ansar al-Sunnah and Islamic State may be two sides of the same coin in Mozambique, but the Islamic State brand has raised the profile of the insurgency just as the province of Cabo Delgado is emerging as one of the most important regions in the world. Over the past 10 years, oil companies have discovered the world's largest offshore gas field next to Cabo Delgado. The discovery has led to the area becoming home to several multi-billion-dollar gas projects that have the potential to turn Mozambique into the world's next energy giant. Less than 100 miles away from this is the world's largest single producing ruby mine, which is reported to account for 80% of the global supply. Cabo Delgado is also at the centre of new development corridors that would increase trade flows between Mozambique and Tanzania. In addition to this, the province also has a thriving illegal economy, with its long coastline being used for smuggling heroin from Asia. This has created an underground economy worth an estimated $100 million, and is exactly the type of illegal cash flow that Islamic State wants to tap into. However, Cabo Delgado is not just a crossroads of trade and industry. The province also sits on the frontier of the two major religions in Africa, Christianity and Islam, and Mozambique da Praia is positioned on the front line between them. The majority of Mozambique is Christian, but Cabo Delgado has a Muslim majority population that mostly live in the towns and villages along the coast. This population has long felt neglected by its government, which sits over 1,000 miles away at the other end of the country in the capital Maputo. Cabo Delgado also has the worst literacy rate in Mozambique and is one of the poorest regions in the country, with many locals feeling they have not seen any benefits from the natural resources discovered in their province. Islamic State is using this resentment to promote its anti-state agenda and take control of territory across the province. The Mozambican government now needs a strategy that can defeat Islamic State and win back the support of the local people. Without both, the insurgency will spread across East Africa, and it will need a global response to stop it. The question will then be, which countries will join another war against Islamic State, when governments around the world still have troops in Syria?